Two things happened while I watched this. One, I hate this show. I hate it top to bottom. I think it's stupid. I think they've lost the plot entirely. And two, I thought this was the last episode. I thought we were done. We are not. There's another.
I knew that we were not done with this because we had our members Zoom last night, our community Zoom, where we talked to our beautiful members, and one of them gave us the very bad news that there is a third part. I think I was just blissfully ignorant for a little while, and typically that ends up biting me in the ass.
Bros and shows, I gotta have me my bros and shows. Bros and shows, bros and shows, I gotta have me my bros and shows.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Bros and Shows. I'm your co-host, Steele Russell, joined as always by the one and only Scoot and Rally Magoots. What's up, dude?
I am burnt out from Beverly Hills.
Same.
Just full on burnout. It's not even a hate watch at this point. It is a chore. It's a task.
It's
we have
laborious.
to see it through. And the fact that there's a third part to this meaningless, dumb reunion just really aggravates me.
It grinds my gear to the utmost extent. Watching this whole thing, again, what I will say is similar to what I said last week, is it's embodying what this show's become entirely. Watching Kyle deflect and gaslight is frustrating. It's annoying. Zero accountability, even in the face of obvious things. It's so easy to be like, yep, that was fucked. You can't even do that. You keep defending. You get wacky Kathy for 10 minutes, which it's like, what are we even talking about now? It's just her antics throughout the season. Great. That's fucking boring. We have to talk about the only...
I was fine with the Kathy antics.
Were you just like a break?
Broke up the episode. Yeah, it broke up the dumb episode that I didn't care about.
The only...
And Tilly, too. Tilly was an absolute pleasure.
Tilly was the bright spot, as she has been. Like, Tilly can save this show. Build around Tilly.
I don't know.
I'll wait till we get to that part to talk about it. But yeah, dude, it's not like I'm sitting there. We've watched shows that we hate.
Yeah, we haven't.
This isn't the same.
No, it's not the same because we know that everybody pretty much feels the same way. Like when we would rag on OC 2 seasons ago, we'd get a lot of hate in the comments. We put stuff out about Beverly Hills and what they need to change and the fact that it just sucks. There isn't really a lot of negative comments.
No.
And I think Bravo's in a bit of a predicament here because I could easily see them looking at something and the only people, if somebody's enjoying this season for whatever reason, I don't know why, I'm not even going to rag on you, but if you put this side by side next to a Salt Lake City, you're kidding yourself if you think that this is more entertaining or on par with that. It's a different show. It's a completely different style, completely different level of entertainment. It is so vastly different, and this is so much worse than what is now becoming one of the best housewife shows of the last 10 to 15 years. So we're looking at it like, all right, well, what do we do? Bravo could easily look at that and say, we need to change it. We need to get Beverly Hills on track with everything else. That's what people are kind of flocking towards. But then they would just find themselves in this predicament where they're getting rid of everybody. They're trying to change too much. And then they could have an absolute stinker on their hands, much like Roni. So they're stuck. There is nothing they can do. We know that we've got Kyle Richards just fully entrenched with all the producers. This is her show. All the other women, none of them feel like their jobs are on the line. Dorit may have beforehand, and we're seeing this now. But the rest of them, they're like, yeah, whatever. We'll show up, we'll collect a paycheck, and we know what we're going to do at the reunion. It's just tired.
It's so tired. The reactions and responses from the ladies on the couches are so ho-hum. Nobody's really getting into it except a couple of people.
It's not funny.
No.
You know what the biggest problem is? It's just not funny.
Think about, like you said, let's use Roslick because it's just one of the best examples. That or Miami, honestly. When you watch Roslick, you laugh at what's going on. Yeah. You laugh at Meredith
Even
Marks.
at the serious moments where they're going after each other, you're like, that's fucking funny.
That was a funny thing that just happened.
This isn't funny. You've got Dorit just going after Sutton, going after Kyle, going after whoever. It's not funny. She's not a funny person. We've said this before. She doesn't know what a joke is. But it's not even any sort of level of camp or fun.
Nope.
It's just women that I don't like talking about nonsense.
Yeah.
And it's just boring.
It's just bad. It's a bad product. They have a bad product that continuously gets ratings, and because it gets ratings, they continue to put out the same bullshit because we're all going to watch it because it's Beverly Hills. It has been skating by on that notion for years now. Not 3, 4, it could be 5, 6, 7 years of just this formula that they know people watch because of the people on it, but not because you like them, just because you know who they are.
Yep.
That's so dumb. And it sucks because they can roll out the same product next season and they won't hurt in the ratings because their ratings aren't hurting now. And people are resounding through the comments section, this show sucks. We put that video out, it went viral, and we have thousands of comments of people reverberating the same thing. We agree, we agree, we agree. There might have been 5 comments I can remember that didn't say things that agreed with us. That's crazy, and yet the ratings are through the roof. Why? Because it's Beverly Hills.
Yeah,
so they don't have to change
that's
it.
the only reason. And even the comments that disagreed with what we were saying, they weren't really disagreeing with the premise of this show is boring and stale.
They just don't like
They were
us.
defending. They don't like us. Yeah, that's fair. What are you guys doing? Watch some sports, whatever. I liked the one comment somebody put out there. I mean, pretty much it's the same thing as sports. They're putting on costumes and going out and doing stuff.
I commented back at that guy.
I liked that comment a lot. But they're not disagreeing with what we're saying. They're not disagreeing with the overhaul of the show that is severely needed. They're just defending people. They're like, yeah, thank God Garcelle's gone. It's like,
No.
You think that's going to solve anything?
No.
I'll pose the question that I posed last night in our community Zoom. Do you think, and I think I kind of had the makings of this last week too, a Fox Force 5 show with no one else, will they actually go after each other, and could it actually be entertaining? If you bring somebody like Rinna back, throw her in the ring, and just leave out all of the roadkill, for like lack of a better term, like Sutton, like Garcelle, the people that are just like, oh, you're not part of our group, we're going to go after you. Anything you say is wrong, but we could do the same thing. You guys are mean girls. We're not mean girls. We do it differently because we're established and we're true friends. That was one of the comments I saw floating around that I hated too. If you just leave them in a group together and say, here, this is your show,
Go.
They're going to be happy at first. It's going to be, them having a good time for a little bit, but eventually they're going to realize, shit, we need some drama. They're going to pop off.
We don't like each other.
That might be the only direction that you can actually go in with this show, where there is no collateral damage. There is nobody on the sideline that's just getting picked on because they're not part of the group. Eventually, they're going to have to turn on each other, and that would bring me a lot of enjoyment. To see somebody like Erica have to go up against Rinna for whatever reason they've never gone up against each other in the past to any real extent. So having Rinna go after Erica and be like, what the fuck are you doing? You're not doing anything on camera anymore. Show us your life. What, you think that you can just rest on your laurels because you went through a messy divorce? No, let's see what the hell's going on. You could say the same thing about Rinna. They could gang up on Kyle. Like, we see bits and pieces of it in this reunion where Dorit's actually going after Kyle. No one else is really clocking it. No one else is stepping in except for Bose, who's kind of taking a 180. So I think that might be the only feasible action that they could take right now.
You're betting it all on the Fox Force 5.
I'm betting. What else? What other choice do we have?
Don't ask me. I have no.
Oh yeah, I know, and that's the other problem. We can't. We just watched Roni. They blew it up. For whatever reason, they got rid of everybody and brought in a new cast. It didn't work.
Nope.
Can't do that in Beverly Hills unless you have established people who are rich. Please bring back rich people.
We need wealth back on
Housewives. That's the only way this works. I'm tired of watching people live in pool houses. I don't know how many times I have to say it, but that's not what we want to watch on these shows. So that's the only thing that I can come up with.
Interesting. Hand it over to the devil and see how it goes.
Yeah.
Sure.
Who doesn't want to watch the devil on screen?
I'll watch. Lucifer ran for like 6 seasons or some shit.
Did I tell you I was watching that? Okay, all right. Yeah. Oh, yeah, because Bob the Drag Queen was in it. Yeah, okay, all right, cool.
Randomly.
Like, damn.
So, yeah. Yeah, you did tell me that. That made me laugh. It's like, oh, yeah, it pops up on my Netflix frequently. Yeah. I'm like, whatever. But I don't know, dude. Maybe they bring Rinna back. That seems to be the only, because they're not going to whack everybody but the Fox Force 5. No. We know that. I could see them bringing Rinna back. And Rinna, has been multiple interviews of saying, I would never go back. She would go back in a heartbeat.
In a heartbeat.
So maybe that's...
So they're like, Harry doesn't really want Rinna back. It's like, fucking...
Shut up, Harry. Go make sauce.
Go to Canada. Go up there and do whatever it was you were doing up in Canada and what you were accused of doing. Yeah,
whatever we heard allegedly that happened in Canada.
You can go do that and Lisa can stay and she can work in the show.
I guess. And I don't want Lisa back, but I do not know what the answer is.
And that's the question that I'll pose to the whole audience.
How do you fix it?
If it's my idea with just the Fox Force 5, would that be a better idea than what we're seeing now?
I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever get that answer, but you guys ruminate on that and let us know what you think. But let's get into this episode. We start out in the dressing rooms of everybody, and it's Garcelle and Sutton. And I just thought it was important to note that Sutton's like, I didn't know Kyle was so angry. And if you just watch her demeanor, it's like, well, and we saw last week, she's so rattled.
Yeah.
Like, she's not ready for what's about to happen. We don't really get too far into. We start with her and Dorit towards the end, but I imagine it's going to spill over a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
I also don't know what we have left to talk about in episode 3.
It's going to be rumors, speculation about Mo.
Great.
It's going to be the carryover from what we see at the end of this episode for sure. I guess something, and that's the other part of this. We were promised Garcelle storming off. She doesn't storm off until they do the toast at the end.
She says, I'm out of here.
I'm out of here. Which, that's fine. But now knowing that she stays the whole episode and there isn't some dramatic runoff.
Well, there's something that leads to her bouncing.
Yeah, exactly. So there's got to be something mixed in there where everybody's ganging up again. Maybe she finally steps into Sutton and she's like, hey, she's not talking anymore. What do you want her to do?
Yeah.
Something along those lines. And then, then we'll just end up probably talking about Kyle and Mo.
I don't care. But
yeah,
we get back to the stage and Garcelle jumps right back in, which I appreciate. And she's like, to Kyle, it feels like you told me things off camera to shut me up. And the Kyle manipulation starts right here. And it is so obvious. It's so annoying. And this is what she does every single reunion, anytime she's pressed. And she's like, it was my way of getting closer to you because we're friends. And I wanted to tell you that stuff.
I wanted to build our friendship. Is what
when have you been
what
friends?
What are you talking about?
You're not friends. We know you're not friends. You haven't been friends.
You went to Garcelle because she's the only one on the entire cast. And now maybe you created a bit of an enemy with Dorit, but that'll go away.
It already did. Dorit fucking bent the knee at the end of this.
Yeah. Oh, God, it's so sickening.
It's so frustrating.
It's so frustrating. I hate this show so much. She picked out, we know what you did. You handpicked Garcelle because she's the only one on the cast that actually has the balls to say, what are you doing? Why are you not sharing this? Why are we not allowed to talk about Morgan? Sorry, I just said Morgan, Kyle.
Whoa.
Really? Whoa.
Whoa.
If you with the cease and desist, we can't talk about her. She's got anxiety. I fucking hate that part too.
Oh.
I'm ready to fucking blow off on this whole show. But yeah, you went to Garcelle because she's the only one who's going to call you out for your bullshit. You weren't trying to build a friendship. Shut up.
For her to say, I'm not going to say something that will affect my daughters, my family, for a TV show, for a network, for anybody. Fine. Fine.
Oh, not fine.
Hold on. Let's act like your job is not to share your life on a TV screen. Let's just play that game for 1 second.
Let's act like your life isn't this job.
Let's act like that.
Your entire life hinges on this fucking job.
Correct. Let's pretend for 1 second that that's not real. Okay? You brought Morgan on this show.
She did say she knows she did that.
I don't give a fuck, because even though you know you did that, once she comes onto the screen and once it starts to work its way into storylines and once people on the show have questions about it, it is fair game. You don't dictate what other people are allowed to ask you on this show. However, because the producers have clearly turned this over to her in some way, shape, or form, she does get to pick what people are allowed to talk about. You know, she told producers before the season, Morgan's off the table. Don't even fucking ask. And they're like, no problem, Kyle. And by the way, tell everybody else too, because the Morgan questioning really comes from nobody but Garcelle, and she's quieted by Sutton.
Yep.
So she once again manipulates the show to fit her narrative, and then she wants to play the role of, I'm bigger and better than this. I'm not going to do something on screen that will fuck with my life. You did it all last season and didn't have to answer for it because at the reunion, you played like you couldn't answer it. Now we get to the second season, and you have somehow taken Morgan off the table entirely because you don't want to address it. But you were the one in the music video. You're the one at the concert. You're the one holding her hand. You're the one tattooing her fucking arm with your goddamn initial. So yeah, Kyle, we do have to fucking talk about it because you brought the shit up. The only thing you've talked about this year, because you're claiming, oh, I'm sharing now. I'm sharing. You're sharing shit from last season. You're finally talking about Mo. That's old news. You're not doing anything, and you're covered by these producers that don't fucking push because you're Kyle Richards. And great job, Kyle. You fucked the show into the ground. And now we have to sit here and discuss it, and we're not happy. I'm not good. Are you good?
The chair is making some crazy noises while you're moving around there.
I think it's my
Yeah,
bracelets.
dude. No, it's not the bracelets.
the
It
chair?
is freaking, yeah.
Well, like, I mean, come on. This defense is ludicrous. It's fucking nuts for her to sit there and say, this isn't what I signed up for. It quite literally is.
Quite literally is, and you would not be Kyle Richards if it wasn't for the show.
Correct.
So to sit here now 16, 17 years later and say, yeah, no, I can't worry about my daughters. I can't worry about my family. I can't worry about my namesake when it comes to this show. Your namesake is this show. So that's,
you are known because of this show.
it's just stupid.
Is
And
the Richards family known for other
think
things?
at
Sure.
the very least, Andy at least followed up with those questions
was
that
good.
we did say. At least early on, he was good. And then he kind of backed off. And he does bow to the Fox Force 5 at some point towards the end, too. But in the beginning, when it's just focused on Kyle, he asked all of those questions.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle didn't give a real response to any single one
sidestepped.
of them, any single question. Everything pretty much across the board that you just said. You did a music video. It was pretty provocative. You're leading people on saying, hey, look at us. We're in a sexual relationship. And now you're like, yeah, you can't really talk about that. Well, that's kind of weird. Why would you want to do that? She doesn't give an answer.
Oh,
So we don't get answers from Kyle at reunions. We already know that. But now she's explicitly talking about things that we can't talk about.
right.
Saying, hey, this, and this are specifically off the table. I can say things. I can answer these questions, but I'm going to stop you right there and not go deeper.
While acting like she has shared a lot this season.
No.
It's really goddamn frustrating. But Kyle and Dorit, we get into that and the double standard that Dorit thinks that Kyle has for her, which I agree with. But I don't think that double standard's not reserved for Dorit only. That double standard is a blanket double standard for a lot of people.
Friendship with Sutton.
Right.
Like, come on.
Correct. Like she is the queen of double standards. But Erica brings up the text from last year, which I'm actually glad we got back into because I really don't think we dove into it enough last year. And Kyle's still playing like she's so pissed off that Dorit would have the nerve to read that out in front of people. And Dorit's like, look, there was no more rules after you went on a fucking podcast and said that our Amazon Live and said that our friendship was exaggerated. Like after that, the gloves were off. And then 3 to 4 months of no response from you. And the night before the reunion, you fire off a long, sappy text message about, let's not do this on screen. I care about you too much. We can move forward. It's going to be okay. Yes, it's manipulative. Erica agrees. Erica has turned into Kyle's lapdog, apparently. And even Erica agreed with that last season. So for her to have any kind of defense is insane.
It's insane. And this is, when it comes to Dorit, this is going to sound flippant, but it's really not. We were leading the charge a couple of years ago saying, what is Dorit doing? What is she sharing?
Absolutely.
She's doing absolutely nothing. She just shows up in Chanel every single day and acts like, oh, yeah, I'm a great part of the show. You're not. You were on the chopping block for years.
Yep.
So you're showing up now. We know what you're doing. I actually liked this part of Dorit.
This was good. She did good here.
She went way too far a little bit later, and not too far in like the sense that she talked too much, or she did talk too much, but not too far in the sense that like she was poking in different holes that like she shouldn't be.
No,
or saying
she was
hateful
doing
things.
rude Southern accents.
It was just fucking. It was just too much, and it was exhausting, and I couldn't deal with it. But this right here was good,
solid, yeah.
and this gives me hope for what I said. If they were ever to do this, the infighting is perfect.
Yes.
Making Kyle accountable for things is going to come from somebody like Dorit. It's going to come from somebody like Erica. It's going to come from somebody like Kathy, even if she ever, drops
she
the
would
whole act.
cower to
If
Kathy.
she ever drops the whole act and actually goes in on someone, that's where it's going to come from. The second it comes from somebody from the outside looking in, she can just brush it off, and no one's going to ask her anything. That person's not going to have backup. Dorit doesn't really need backup because they were friends for a long time. They do know a lot about each other. There are a lot of things that we can talk about.
She's got enough ammo.
And she's not afraid to back down because she feels like, hey, I have the right to do this.
Yeah.
After what you did last year in the offseason, I have the right to do this after that text that you fired off last year. So I was fine with Dorit doing this.
Totally.
Still had the question, like, who is this person? Because this came out of nowhere. But I liked this part of it. I just didn't like when she's going after people who aren't in that core group.
Everything else that she does in this episode was stupid.
Yeah.
This was good. She held her own and she said the right things and she was correct about everything she was saying. She didn't bend for the majority.
Yeah.
She was doing really, really well. And when they get into the Morgan stuff again, like she's like, dude, we had dinner. And also, meanwhile, Kyle is still hung up on the fact that on Watch What Happens Live, Dorit said that her friendship with Morgan has caused a rift with her and
Kyle's
Kyle.
sticking points with the things that happen on Bravo adjacent shows, whether it's BravoCon or Watch What Happens Live, is bizarre to me.
And it's so soft.
And it's always with Dorit, too.
And it's not even a big deal, dude. She said that your friendship with another person fucked up yours.
Consistent too, because if you think back, BravoCon 2 years ago, Erica stood up and said Dorit and PK are probably going to be the first to split up. She was right, but Dorit was offended by that. Kyle didn't say a fucking word. But when Dorit says, yeah, I'm going to rank the Richards sisters, and I'm going to put Kyle at the bottom because she just spilled a drink on me, Kyle cried for 6 years.
Yes.
She's still crying about that, actually.
Yes.
She's crying about Watch What Happens Live. She's crying about all the things that are happening in the offseason. Her ability to do that and then just not stand up for anybody else, I don't understand how we're all looking at it this way, but no one else on the cast is like, what do you only care about yourself? Mm-hmm. Why do we think that you care about anybody else? You don't want to be friends with anybody else.
No, you want to be friends with Kesha.
No.
Like, get out of here. But Andy does talk more about the Morgan Wade stuff, saying things that we've all been saying, like you said earlier, but also the fact that, like, you claim Morgan doesn't want the spotlight, but coming on this, like, first and foremost, she's a performer. Mm-hmm. Second, by coming on this show, she's gained a lot of publicity. She had a New York Times article. She's a household name. Where's the shit end of the deal here? I get if she has anxiety, okay, fine. You brought her on the show, and she has definitely 100% seen an increase in listeners.
Yes.
Without a doubt.
Sure.
You're a household name because
I didn't know who
of
the
Kyle.
fuck she was before any of this.
Nobody did.
Yeah.
Not because of her music. I have no comment on her music. I haven't listened to it.
Still haven't listened to it.
But as far as who she was, you're on the map because of this show. So let's not get it twisted. She gained a lot from this friendship, relationship, whatever the fuck it is. But then we move on to the PK texts. And again, I thought Dorit handled herself really well. I want to give credit where credit's due because they start getting into it. And I will say the cussing hits so much better.
It just does, dude.
So good. When she's dropping, like, fuck you, I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
Let the anger flow through you.
Bunch of C words mixed in. Dude, it was nice.
It's so much better. But we get the whole montage of the text debacle, which I fast forwarded through every other montage because I was so frustrated. But this one I actually watched.
Yeah.
And Dorit opens it up with, like, you know, your reaction to this whole thing is strange. The fact that you heard all this and you said she can fuck the fuck off if she wants to see the text when you're at Boza's house. Like, can you see now after watching this why it's kind of fucked up? And Kyle defends herself immediately. It's like, no, how do you watch that? You just watched it and you still don't see the problem?
So hard to understand what she's thinking. And is it just, and accountability is a big thing later. And this is what I wish that Dorit would say, because then she'd at least be consistent when it comes to going to Sutton and going to Kyle. Mm-hmm. Look at Kyle and say, what are you doing? Take accountability. You realize that that's weird. And Andy at least asked the question towards the end of all of this, what we've been asking pretty much the whole season, what if Dorit was texting Mo? Talking about
I wouldn't like it.
There you go.
Period.
That is all you need. That is literally all you have to say to any of this. You could have done it from the start and said, you know what? Didn't think about it that way. I wouldn't like it if it was the other way around. I'm sorry. I'll stop. Boom, done, whatever.
Dorit would have hugged you immediately.
Yeah, dude. She would have bowed down. She would have invited you over. She would have met you in the foyer. She wouldn't have been upstairs for 30 minutes. She would have been waiting for you. Like, that is how that works with Dorit and Kyle. We all know this. You know this. And that's probably why she I guess she always decides to just get away with it.
Who's you? Who did you just talk to?
What?
Everyone knows this. You know this. Me?
Yeah, you.
Okay. I was like,
I didn't realize I said that.
It's like, what the fuck?
It off. I'm off the handle right now.
I like it.
I'm all over the place. But no, we all know that's what's going to happen. If you just apologize and take accountability and say, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings, Dorit will bow down.
Immediately.
And
does.
I think that is why Kyle decides, yeah, I'm just going to be defensive and I'll get away with it eventually. Dorit wants to be my friend.
She gets away with it in this episode.
Half the cast wants to be friends with her. I think that's why she does it.
Yeah, honestly, it's oh my God. But back to Kyle defending it. It's like, you know, I only texted because she's now holding on to this. And it's like, when did we get here?
Yeah.
Because she's like, I texted him because of the separation. I texted you. You're acting like it's a one-off. What happened to the memes and shit? What happened to those conversations? Like, why is it now becoming about one text? That doesn't make any sense because that's not what we watched. And other women on the stage, thank God, are like, does anybody agree with this? No one raises their hand. I'm like, good. Until Erica's like, well, I think it's about the show. It's shut up. Shut up. What are you doing? Like, talk about wallpaper. Like, what are we talking about? Don't jump in now to defend her. Let her flounder because she's wrong. Every one of you agreed. She's wrong. Erica, you didn't raise your hand. You agree. She's wrong. Don't give her an out. Let her try to figure her way out of it, because that would be more entertaining than watching Erica defend it. It's like, where did that come from?
And again, that's all about consistency, because there is no defense later. There's no defense in the beginning of this. When Garcelle was getting attacked last episode, nobody comes to her defense. It's always one-on-one conversations going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. We need either all of you to interject and tell us how you feel about every situation, or it always has to be one-on-one. The latter is very boring and very tiring. But if you guys all speak up and start talking, it'll be so much better. We need there to be such a lack of bias in all of these shows, and there's just not. There's always somebody playing some sort of bias, like, I'm going to stay out of this one.
Why?
I don't want to rub anybody the wrong way. Your job is in the description to rub people the wrong way.
Yes.
That's what creates chaos. That's what creates good moments on these shows, and no one's doing it.
Nobody's coming to the plate to step up, and it's really, really frustrating. But Kyle tries to spin it as like, well, it made it sound bad. And it's like, whoa, no one on earth thinks that you and PK are in a romantic relationship.
No.
That was never on the table. No one's thinking there's an affair going on. That's not part of this.
I mean, I kind of did towards the end of it, just because of how much she was defending
Honestly, that's the only way that people got there was because you wouldn't shut up.
Yeah, because of your own actions.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, like, no, I don't think that you were banging PK, and no one on the stage does either. Yeah, see, even saying it's
that
gross.
imagery.
You're welcome. And Bose points out, it's like, the way that you made it sound, it sounded like there were secrets. And this is the role reversal thing. If roles were reversed, would you be upset? Yeah, I would. Then just end it there. Say that. And go hug Dorit. And Dorit will cry.
Even still, she's getting off somewhat easy. Because that question should be so much deeper. That should be a longer conversation. What are we talking about when it comes to secrets? That's when Andy should step in. What kind of secrets were you keeping?
Yeah, poke.
What kind of poke? You got to keep going. You can't just let it sit surface level. That's what happens. They ask these follow-up questions and then it just stops because Kyle's not really going to answer, but nobody's asking another follow-up question and forcing her to answer. So she can get out of this. And after all of the things that we watched this year, all of the things that were like, what are you doing? Just say you're sorry and move on and you'd be fine. She can just sit in it for the entire season, then go through an entire reunion without still somehow answering any of the hard questions.
Yep. We watched it happen. We watched it happen during this episode, but we get into girl code and Dorit's like, not reading the text breaks girl code. Yes, true.
Yeah.
Correct. You're right. Oh yeah, well, reading my text in front of millions of people breaks girl. No, it doesn't. Nope. You broke girl code by sending that text last year.
Yeah.
Because you were trying to manipulate. Because that's all you do.
Girl code.
No, it's not girl code.
We all know what girl code is.
Yeah, that wasn't it.
Yeah.
Like, the comparisons are the problem. The fact that every time somebody speaks up, you have a defense that is haphazard and doesn't land.
I think she was just mirroring what Dorit was trying to say. Dorit was saying, at that point last year, after what you did and what you were saying the whole season, and then going into that Amazon Live saying that we weren't that close, all of those things kind of compiled to a point where I said, you know what? Guess we're not friends anymore. Why does she care? She wouldn't care. You can't then turn that back on Dorit and say, yeah, we weren't friends. Or, yeah, you broke girl code. It doesn't work that way.
No, just own it. Say, you're right, my bad. Like, at any point, had you taken accountability, this would have gone away. Yeah. But she keeps on with the girl code shit. And that's when Dorit's like, it's your reactions, dude. Your reaction's so over the top. Had you just said, oh, yeah, I texted him about the separation, this would have been done. But you lost your shit in the Viper Room. You continue to lose your shit. It draws more speculation. That's all on you. It's not on us because you don't know how to like handle your emotions when it comes to a text message.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
You read the text messages to Chuck E. Cheese of all places.
Yeah, but you can't read it to the person whose husband you're texting.
No.
That doesn't make sense.
Also at Bose's too with the wellness retreat thing. Oh, you guys forced me to read that text message. You had told half the group at that point.
Correct.
It's going to get back, and this is just from a logic standpoint. If you're thinking and you did something and you sent a text and some people know what it is, they are going to paraphrase. They're going to. It's going to end up getting back to Dorit. It's going to be a completely different text message. It's going to be worse.
Yep.
People tend to be a little shady. They're going to change a few words, make it seem a little bit worse than it actually was. You just needed to get ahead of all of this, and you wouldn't do it. So you're in a mess of your own making, and you're still refusing to say, I made that mess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the defense of, I'm a girl's girl, I come from a family of women, sounds a whole of a hell of a lot like when someone's racist and says, I'm not racist, I have friends that are black.
You know what's really funny, though?
What?
I feel like that's what Dorit's going to do with Bose moving forward, by the way.
Oh, God, probably.
Because all of the microaggressions that she was doing for the last, 5 seasons that Garcelle was calling her out on that were rightfully so, now she's going to say, well, why would I do that? One of my best friends is black.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be her move.
I would not be surprised if we hear that in a season or two.
But that's what I heard when she said, I got a family of women. I come from family. I'm like, that doesn't exonerate you from not being a girl's girl.
Name every woman.
Yeah. oh my God. We're almost through this part, and then I'll settle down a little bit.